song that I'll always hear. Tell me a story that I can read.
Hey everybody, I'm Shotgun Jimmie. It's a pleasure to be back here in Oshawa. Just kidding, Toronto, downtown Canada, center of the universe. It's great to see you guys out.
Hi, it's Rob Mitchell for Tunes and TO, and we're here covering Canadian Music Fest. And I'm here with Shotgun Jimmie, who's performing later on tonight. And welcome back to Toronto.
Thanks for having me, everyone. It's good to be here.
I was wondering, so when did you first pick up a guitar and start playing music?
In elementary school, grade 8, in fact. I started playing my dad's acoustic guitar. My brother showed me a few chords. And I started by writing music, not by... Like, I learned chords, and then instead of learning a song, I wrote my first song. And it was quite a while before I actually learned someone else's thing. It's kind of it can be a bit of a nuisance at campfires because I don't really know that many. I don't even know how to play Kumbaya, to be perfectly honest with you.
Wrote a letter to the editor, but I didn't have any paper. Started writing on my own, so when I was done, I couldn't find the paper.
What were some of the first records that you gravitated towards when you were younger?
Well, see, that was a while ago, so it's almost embarrassing, but I grew up on Canadian indie music. I'm quite proud of some of the stuff that I listened to, like Eric's Trip and Sloan and Thrush Hermit and that sort of East Coast thing. But I also listened to, the Crash Test Dummies. I like those guys. We were talking about them on this tour. Their first couple records were really great. And, mostly like the same sort of thing that I'm doing now, sort of thing, is what I was drawn to at the beginning.
It's all going down. We're all going down, down, down. It's all going down.
And
I also listened to hip-hop music, too, when I was in
which kind? Public Enemy and that?
Yeah. I just someone just gave me that 33 and a third book about It'll Take a Nation of Millions. And, I love Public Enemy. Huge influence.
So how does that influence your writing or your music?
Well, I think I was just drawn to thoughtful lyrics and like important subject matter instantly because of that. And then I don't necessarily have the same type of subject matter in my work, but I do want it to be something that's thoughtful and provocative in some
have some sort of resonance. It's not just like poppy type music, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it has some sort of resonance also.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important for me for it to be meaningful in some respect, even though it does come off as quirky or jokey or that kind of thing a lot of the time. I put a lot of thought and care into it, and because I want it to be meaningful at the end of the day.
Good luck with building buildings, board, historian tour. Finding used parts for your glory.
Last year you released a Transistor Sister. Could you talk a little bit about that album? Describe it a little bit.
Well, it's a quirky, jokey, kind of meaningful album. It was actually a really cool process. I got to record that record with a band, which I don't always do, and it was a great band of some of my favorite musicians, people that I've met over the years. And I had this opportunity to put them together and go to a friend's studio and just take our time and do it the way we wanted to do it. And the result was this album that I'm still happy with. I think a lot of the times that I make records, and I've heard other people sort of saying things to this effect, that they get tired with their product afterwards or that kind of thing. But with Transistor Sister, I don't listen to it or anything, but I'm not ashamed of those. Like, I still enjoy playing those songs, and when I think back about that recording session, it's nothing but fond memories, and I'm proud of it and excited about it still. And even though it's a year old, I feel good about it.
Plenty more of that coming later on tonight. Sorcery of the guitar.
I think it is more refined in that the songs are shorter. Like on Transistor Sister, there's a lot of very small pop songs, and I think that show, like, I whittled them down. They weren't always that small. I think some people confuse that with the idea that they're unfinished, or that enough care wasn't put into them to make them the length of a normal song. But for me, the process was more of taking an idea and refining it and trying to make something potent that's like shorter. Because a lot of the music that I was listening to at the time, like Blood Visions by Jay Reatard, has like minute-and-a-half songs, and I like that. I have that attention span sometimes, and I don't think that that's necessarily the only way to do it. But for that record, for this record, Transistor Sister, I felt like it was a good idea to try and make a bunch of short songs and have some sort of more experimental, smaller tidbits in there.
This is a new one about traveling. It's called Standing in a Line. I'm ready for the taxi, I'm ready for the cab, I'm ready for the streetcar, ready for the tram, I'm ready for the metro, I'm ready for the tube, I'm ready for the subway, I know what to do. I'm out here early, I'm standing in a line, I'm waiting for security, everything is fine. Keep on taking Shirley, cause we're moving right along. It's hard to see so clearly, we'll probably fall back carry on.
Being very fortunate to travel all over this vast country, I was wondering how has traveling influenced your music?
It's influenced it a lot, and I've also got to travel around the world a bit too. Yeah, I mean, one thing that happens for sure is you meet all kinds of interesting people every day, and you get to see lots of live music and listen to me. Like, the people that I'm on tour with now are all huge music fans. I'm on tour with John K. Sampson and the Provincial Band, and we talk about music a lot, and we listen to a lot of music in the van. And it isn't just because we don't have anything else to talk about. We all come from distinct backgrounds, and we're all very focused about it, and we like to learn from each other. And then you can figure out pretty quickly when you meet someone in a new place if they're the kind of person that's going to introduce you to some new music. Like, I always ask for it, and then that's probably the way that I get influenced the most.
Some of the favorite places that you came across traveling all over?
I just recently did a tour through the States with John K. Sampson down the eastern seaboard, and it was incredible. It was so fun, so great. Philadelphia and Washington and New York and Pittsburgh and all these places that I'd been to a couple of them before. I've been to Philly and New York before, but yeah, it was just so cool to see that place. And I mean, the thing that I really like about the States is there's just so many more people that there are so many more awesome people. I mean, there's also more lame people too, probably, but there's just tons of amazing, bright minds that come out to rock shows that are just cool to interact with and hang out with, and it's pretty inspiring and exciting.
I want to dedicate this next song to anybody in the house that's ever been to Sackville, New Brunswick, or has plans to go to Sackville, New Brunswick.
Guys ready? 1, 2, 3, here we go!
They weren't ready.
We're here obviously at Canadian Music Fest. I was wondering, you've been in the Canadian music scene quite a long time. How have you seen it evolve and change over the years?
Well, I've been a fan of the Canadian music scene, like I was saying earlier, for a really long time, so I have been paying attention, and I think it's taken a change for the better. I mean, it's always... I mean, there was a heyday when I first started paying attention. There were some awesome bands and some really cool stuff going on in the early 90s and in the 90s, and I really loved it. There were some great Toronto bands like Project 9 and the Bourbon Tabernacle Choir, and like all these cool bands that I would come in and see play all ages shows. And then there was a while where I kind of wasn't. For some reason, I started to pay more attention to the American music scene, and I don't want to name any names, but there were other Canadian bands that were just like doing their thing that I just wasn't as into what they were doing. I don't want to say their names. I'm not going to, because if you don't have something nice to say, there's no reason to say it. But I would say, as of lately, I mean, with bands like the Constantines and Lady Hawk and Attack in Black, and like, I mean, there's way too many bands to name, but it's pretty exciting. It's an amazing time. Like, I feel super excited to be part of the Canadian music scene during a time where so many people are doing such good work and making such like incredible records that are timeless and just fantastic. So I'm pretty lucky to be involved, and I'm still a fan, the same as I was in high school and in elementary school. And I hope I will continue to be a fan of the music that we make in Canada, because it's pretty special.
We're all going down, down, down. It's all going down. Come on. We're all going down, down. Cha-cha-cha.
Am I clashing with do I clash with the carpet?
No, you stand right up.
Okay, good.
It's a good contrast.
I'm popping? Okay, nice. I like to pop. So that's why I chose this show shirt. It pops in a lot of